I stepped into the room, and everything seemed to freeze. The air felt sharp, like it had been cut with a knife. The scent of expensive perfume lingered thick in the atmosphere, and the laughter, once light, now felt brittle. My boots struck the polished floor with a heavy thud, each step echoing like a warning, and then her eyes met mine. Tiffany, my wife's sister, perfect in the way people admire plastic, blonde, too composed. She tilted her head, her gaze icy, and scoffed, loud enough for everyone to hear. Mechanics aren't on the guest list. I didn't respond. I gave her the faintest of smiles. But across the room, her mother-in-law, the one with emeralds choking her throat, turned pale. She clutched her wine glass like it was the only thing keeping her upright and whispered to her husband, "That's him." The room shifted in an instant. The music stumbled, conversation sputtered out mid-sentence. And for the first time all night, every single pair of eyes was on me. They didn't know who I was. Not really. A year ago, they would have laughed along with Tiffany. She had always been sharp-tongued, always ready to pass judgment. But back then, her words didn't hurt. Back then, I was just a lucky guy who married Isabel, her sweet, radiant, golden-hearted sister. I was still in overalls back then, grease-streaked hands, turning wrenches for collectors who didn't know the first thing about engines. She walked into my garage one day, asking for a simple tire change, and walked out with my heart. She told me I was real, grounded, and that she was tired of men with perfect smiles and no soul. I thought that was enough. Maybe it wasn't, because when the truth hit, it felt hollow. It started small, missed dinners, weekends away, the absence becoming noticeable. But I knew something was wrong when I noticed the scent of cologne on her scarf. It wasn't mine, not even close. I said nothing. I chose silence, made that my weapon. And the doubt? That was hers. She never thought I'd notice. She probably thought I was just a guy who could fix a car, not the one who could read between the lines. But I wasn't just that. I owned 5 garages, 3 performance shops, and had a quiet fortune made of investments. But the real secret was the private investigator who owed me more than a few favors. 2 weeks later, I had it all. Pictures, hotel receipts, bank statements. Derek, Tiffany's husband, the perfect image of a man with flawless teeth and no soul, was my rival. The betrayal stung cleanly, but I didn't feel the blood. Instead, I mapped out my revenge. Revenge isn't blind rage. It's strategy. It's architecture. Each move precise, calculated. First, I bought the debt of Derek's failing company, an anonymous purchase, a shell corporation. Then, I set the IRS on his trail, just enough discrepancies to get him sweating. Watching him unravel was satisfying. Next, I made quiet deals with Tiffany's enemies, those old money women who couldn't stand her Instagram-perfect life. I fed them just enough gossip to let the rumors spread. Affairs, bankruptcy, cosmetic surgery. Nothing concrete, just poisonous whispers. Isabel? I didn't confront her. I became distant, colder, but still affectionate enough to keep her guessing. She cried one night, begging me to talk, but I only murmured, "Soon." And I meant it. The night of Tiffany's charity auction came. She threw it for herself. Of course. Everyone dressed like royalty. I wore black, no tie, leather gloves, calm, quiet. I was uninvited, but that didn't matter. The insult was my entry. Tiffany's sneer was the bait, and when she threw her words at me, I set the hook. But it wasn't her that mattered. It was Vivian Kessler, Tiffany's mother-in-law. She remembered me from a corporate negotiation 2 years ago. Under the grease, behind the garage walls, I was a silent partner in the company that had just acquired her family's empire. I raised a glass to her, but she didn't return the gesture. Instead, she whispered, "That's him," like she was staring at a ghost carrying a guillotine. The room went still. It was like I was the only one there. Then I turned to Isabel. She was standing too close to Derek. I tilted my head, then said, "Derek, you never paid me for that tune-up." He blinked, confused. "What?" I pulled out the photos from my coat pocket, placing them on the dessert table. "Guess your engine wasn't the only thing you were running behind my back." Gasps filled the room. One woman actually dropped her glass of wine. Tiffany's eyes narrowed as she studied the pictures. Her lips parted. And then, asterisk crack, asterisk Derek slapped her across the face. The sound was deafening. Isabel collapsed into a chair, shaking, whispering my name like it was a confession. But I wasn't done. I pulled out an envelope and laid it beside the caviar, letting it sit there for a moment, dramatic. Inside were the ownership papers. Every business, every property, every asset they thought they owned was mine now. I looked Vivian dead in the eye. You invested in a brand you didn't understand. Now I'm the board, and you're all fired. The room erupted. I walked out without a glance back. That was 6 months ago. Tiffany divorced Derek. Took half of what was already gone. Vivian tried suing me, but she lost. Isabel called me 37 times, left messages full of apologies and tears. Regret that came too late. I never responded. Now I live somewhere quiet. There are mountains in the distance, peace in the silence. I still fix cars when I feel like it, but mostly I build things no one sees coming. They thought I was just a mechanic. They forgot mechanics know how to tear things apart and make them stronger. Let them remember me however they want. The man with oil-stained hands, revenge in his blood, and silence in his soul. I'll always remember them. Because sometimes the loudest thing in a room isn't a shout. It's the silence that follows when everything changes.